Okay. Great to be with you all and wonderful. I feel so blessed that we're having another annual Advent meditation series. Amazing, right? Amazing. And such a great opportunity for us on so many levels. There are not as many opportunities for having these very Christ inspired yet multi lineage experiences where we let the anchor of a particular Christian season, Advent, form the container. I know the opportunities are not frequent, and I don't take it for granted that we get to celebrate this series together. So I oftentimes in the first gathering of these series offer a very large context and kind of like set us up for what the next weeks are going to be. And I'm still going to do that in a way, but not in the same way that I have done it in the past. I want to go right into two of the words that are part of the theme. The title of the series is Divine Child, Remembering Your Innocence. And I simply want to take two of the words, child and innocence, and let that form our opening gathering together. So, if you're open to it, if you feel inclined to close your eyes, you can do so. I want to read a poem from John O'Donohue. It's not the poem that's in the description for the series. I am going to draw upon one of the phrases. It's a different poem that I think provides the opening for tonight. So, if you wish to close your eyes, please do. If you don't want to close your eyes, that's okay too. The title of the poem, if you wish to Google it yourself afterwards, is For a New Beginning by John O'Donohue. In out of the way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. For a long time, it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promises that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered, would you always live like this? Then the delight, when your courage kindled and out you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning that is at one with your life's desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you. That poem really hit home for me with these words, child and innocence. And as I was reflecting on the series and this opening for us, what jumped out at me was something that's very obvious, but worthy of a deeper dive. And that is, a child is, and we could go back even before child, an embryo is. It is something that is distinctly new. It is. And even an embryo affects all whom are connected with it, touching their perspectives upon their lives and life in general. Most of the time that's positive, not always, but most of the time, because it's something new that's come about in the world, and therefore it can't not have an impact immediately. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking about how often in life as adults we begin an inquiry, especially during times of confusion, of what is the meaning of my life? I'm here, and what is it about? And what am I doing? What is this life about? And from the very moment of your conception and of my conception, there has been a dynamic entry of something divine that is distinctly new. And I love this last part with John O'Donohue. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Soon you will home in a new rhythm. And what does a child do when it is birthed? It homes into a new rhythm. And we could say it's a new compared to something, or we could just simply let it stand on its own, that it is the incarnation of a new I am in the world. And there is something when we think of the child in its purest state, that it is entering with a sense of adventure. It enters from a direct awareness of its own soul, knowing that a world awaits it. I know I'm here with children in Kentucky right now, and the wonder that is filling each day, because they're experiencing without self-reflection that there's a world that they're here to explore and have an adventure in and discover, and is somehow awaiting them. So this child, it is an actual distinct expression. And we're going to explore what that expression is. But herein, even in the existence of an embryo and going further into a child, if there is divinity, that is its pulsing existence, then somehow the child has an aspect of itself that is, this is interesting, fully conscious, fully self-conscious, and fully unself-conscious. That means immediate with, intimate with. Think of how a child will throw themselves into something, not think twice about taking their shirt off or marking on a table if they don't know any better. It lacks self-consciousness, yet there's an intimacy in its relational nature. That's a lot to reflect upon. And I felt that the poem of John O'Donohue touches in on it a bit, gives some texture and dimension to what we are called to, and in a particular way in this season. This season of Advent is a heightened focus of stepping into the unknown, that the newness we're birthing of ourselves and the world can take place. That is the particular focus of Advent from a Christ standpoint. There is new life taking place. There is anointedness coming into form taking place. And we're going to approach this quite intimately like that, of what it is for you personally, this birthing. And we could use the presentation of the birth of Jesus Christ as a focal point, or it could simply add a certain dimension to the awakening of you into your birthing as divine child, and the inherent experience that you remember your innocence in this process. Remembering this innocence, it catches up all that we are. It doesn't disassociate from all that we are. I know oftentimes, I know when I'm working with adults, they will look at children and say, "Oh, those were the days when I could be carefree." There's a certain nostalgia, which to me is true and hits upon something. But to stop there, it's tragedy. It's tragic. I want to give an example of a tragedy that points to this innocence that's a quality of the divine child-like nature of our being. And it comes from West Side Story. So I love that movie and that musical and have really spent time with it. And if you remember the story, and if you've never seen it, here is the capsulation that it's situated, I believe, in New York, and there are two gangs, and one is highly Puerto Rican, and the other is kind of a Caucasian white, and they are gangs, and they're living the gang life of the loyalty to the tribe, and yet trying to coexist in the same community, in the same town. And in that whole setup, that's a lovely picture that's painted. A Puerto Rican woman and an American man meet at one of their dances. The community center would have dances for people of all backgrounds, and these gangs would go and dance. They loved to dance. And when they met, the room stopped. It was love at first sight. They were so innocent, they instantly experienced the purity of love, both of them. And if you listen to the songs, hers is I Feel Pretty, his is Maria, how the name will never sound the same. We get that taste of the innocence, of that childlike innocence. And they believed all was possible. They believed that they could make a difference in their communities, that they could appeal to the rivalry and witness to the fact that they were really more similar than different. Well, in the end, as you know, people end up getting killed. And Maria, the Puerto Rican, her love gets killed. And the movie ends as a tragedy. For here, one person gets shot, another person gets shot. He's trying to break up the fight. He gets shot and he dies. And who shows up on the scene but Maria? And she begins weeping as she holds him, as she bends over him with her arms around him. And the gangs are just silenced because none of them really wanted anybody to really die. They're silenced. But what happens at the end that is tragedy is what happens within her. She picks up the gun and she's filled with anguish, and she starts pointing it at people. And she says something along the lines of, "Now I feel hate too." And then she dissolves into tears. That's the sentiment. I don't know if I got the exact quote right. Why is that a tragedy? Because she went from innocence to something that was so painful it caused a suffering that left her proclaiming she was jaded, and it ended. And what we are here in this life to do is actually transform in such a way that we are innocent and fully human and fully alive as adults. That all the pain that happens in this life, in addition to all the joy, catches itself up so that we don't look back with nostalgia, but we actually are those qualities and paradoxically live in a world that has a lot of contrast in it. I want to give you a few examples and then an optional homework piece to reflect upon. So one quality, I pulled out a handful of qualities that I think are considered childlike. One is carefree. Children are often seen as not having a care in the world. They wake up in the morning, they want pancakes. That's what I'm experiencing here. They want to play. They want to have joy over something new. They want to get excited about the new boots that they got. There's something carefree. They want to run down the street, then they want to run back, then they want to take a nap. Oftentimes when there's nostalgia, there is a heavy weight of stress and responsibility at being an adult, right? Oh, would that I would have a breath to be carefree, but I am an adult. Continuing the evolution for ourselves in remembering our carefree nature, we become caring. We transform from the possibility of stopping at stress and we move into being caring. Secondly, simplicity, or the simple joyfulness. And oftentimes as adults, when we depart from that quality, we experience the complicatedness of ourselves and this world. But transforming through the simplicity of the divine child, we become complex, spanning the spectrum of ourselves from a place of singularity, simple joy. Another childlike quality, fluidity, flexibility. And adults, when they look back wishing they were that way, are maybe finding themselves to be set in their ways, closed. Evolving through that, we come into our own as we develop the internal stability that's not closed, but it allows for the greater life-giving freedom that we are meant to have. We regain spontaneity from inner integrity. Children tend to see with fresh eyes, with eyes of wonder and excitement. And how does that then morph? We see with a lens, our enculturation, our trauma, our overlay. And how do we evolve through? We regain our natural vision and we search for God using her eyes. Children are also spontaneous, which is a little different than fluid. As adults, we can move away from spontaneity and become boxed up. What then is the transformation? Penetrating the paradox, having discernment that is wild. We then come to the last one, which is innocent. And those adults who feel that they've lost their innocence or are somewhere on the spectrum of it experience what might be called jadedness. But morphing through that, transforming through that, we regain the innocence and we become what? We become established in the unknowing. We become rooted in wisdom. We regain the integral nature of our innocence that is pure in each moment and is free of the agendas that we place on things. So the invitation that is here for you is first, sit with some of the qualities in addition to these that are child to you. Reflect on how it's divinity, that childlike quality is actually an aspect of divinity. And then if you can do the 3-step process, what is the deviation from it that adults sometimes experience or you experience? And what then would be the transformation that you have the opportunity to move through or move into that catches up the child and adult story? And the second is me having the invitation that's a part of everything we do. Step into this and strive to not know anything. Let go of what you want to experience or what you should be experiencing. Let go of interpreting, packaging, or even forecasting what you hope for yourself. As John O'Donohue says so well, the soul senses what the world awaits for you. So we're going to do 2 things, which are part of most everything I do. We're going to do meditation, which develops an art, a skillfulness of allowing things to be as they are. And we're going to use inquiry, which inquiry doesn't drive towards spiritual answers. It dismantles the beliefs that keep in place the seduction of safety, as John says. And I know that's a part of everything we do, but I'm naming it here so that you can feel safe in stepping in the unknown. All right, so let's step into our first meditation for this series. And then once we finish, I will stop the recording and we can have an open share on anything that struck you about this or about the theme. I invite you to close your eyes. And I close mine. And bring your focus to the experience of the physical body of you sitting where you are. And become aware that this physical body is a part of space, of all of space. And this space has no bounds, no limits, but contains all. And within this spaciousness, bring the focus to the breath. Together, inhale, pause, and exhale. And inhale, saying or thinking the word I. And exhale, the word am. Inhale, I. Exhale, am. continue at your own pace. Broaden your awareness to breathe this I am in the widest way possible that is distinctly you, but open to this space, the fullness and boundless space in which you exist. Now in this spaciousness, allow a memory that brings before you an image of you as a child in a moment of innocence, where that moment in time exists even now. Allow this child to give you the gift. This memory brings forward a reminder that innocence is within you. It is never lost, it is only forgotten. And let us, from this place of spaciousness, open ourselves to the journey we will take over the next weeks. Make a conscious choice to allow all that you are to be here without striving, calculating, managing. Step into the unknown with open expectation. Allow some of the words of this poem to land upon your open heart. In out of the way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. For a long time it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promises that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered, would you always live like this? Then the delight, when your courage kindled and out you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you.